Hi, my name is Angela Prosgard, and I'm attending Grand Canyon University, and I'm attending the College of Humanities and Social Sciences with a social work program. This is a presentation for the social work advocacy class with Professor Dr. Patricia Cruz, and I will be evaluating advocacy for the LGBTQIA2S plus population. The objectives of the slideshow are going to be the description of the LGBTQIA2S plus population, their historical evolution, making them a vulnerable population, the policies at the local, state, federal levels that are impacting them. Also be overviewing the advocacy strategy to help them, and social media initiatives, along with a survey that I conducted on the population that was nearest to me. So it's a hypothetical survey, but it could possibly be used, maybe with some adjustments. And I will go over my evaluation of that survey. So I'll begin by describing what does LGBTQIA2S plus, what does that mean? A lot of people ask this question, and why all the letters? But what it means is, and what it does, is it gives an identity to individuals who, for whatever reason, don't either feel like they identify as the gender that they were born in, or their sexual identity doesn't match up with what is typical. So the L stands for lesbian, the G stands for gay, the bisexual is the B, transgender is T, queer or questioning is the Q, and intersex is the I, asexual is the A, and the 2S stands for two-spirit. And the plus could be any combination or slight differences. So that is the description of the LGBTQIA2S. I'm going to show a short video here, clip, and this is a short video clip that might be a little bit disturbing, but it is very much in line with a documentary that portrays the real story of an individual who was transgender, male to female, and she was harassed and ultimately murdered for being transgender. And I'm going to get this to play.
She was transitioning, and the first time she wore a skirt happened to be the night that they murdered her. 17-year-old Eddie Araujo lived his life as a young woman. Now police think he was murdered because of it.
Certainly the issue of gender came up, and our juvenile was killed. We had to go around and that. Was it you?
Two of the defendants had sexual encounters with Araujo.
There was a heat of passion provoked by the sexual deception.
Gwen didn't owe anyone any explanations of who she was.
The case of Araujo was a moment of change. It was a time when the public learned about trans lives and trans death.
A very sad story of Gwen, who was murdered for being transgender. And she's just one of many who are hurt because of being transgender. It's pretty serious and puts this population in a very vulnerable place. The history of and evolution of what has been happening here in the United States, and actually through studies of missionaries that went to other countries, Alfred Kinsey in particular, he found that there has been tremendous evidence for other populations to describe individuals who didn't meet or didn't identify as typical binary male and female. And that was in 1947. Their gender roles in other countries and cultures refer to, for example, Native Americans sometimes refer to individuals who might be queer as two-spirit, that their identity is not necessarily definitive in a binary form. In the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King enlisted a key organizer for that movement, Bayard Rustin, who was an openly gay man. And I think that's pretty profound for history. In the 1970s, there was Harvey Milk, and he was a politician, a governor, and he was very influential in the bringing awareness to the homosexual community in the San Francisco area. In the 1980s, and that was in the 1970s. In the 1980s, there was the AIDS epidemic, which put a negative focus even more so on the homosexual population, and they received a lot of scrutiny and harm, making them more vulnerable at that time because people were accusing them of getting AIDS because of their homosexuality. It was a pretty serious time for that population. In recent history, 2025, the Trump administration has forbid the LGBTQIA2S plus population to not only join the military, but exist, so they're being discharged. Also, state and federal buildings were not allowed to post the flags indicating the identity of LGBTQIA2+. This is a depiction of a lot of different identity flags. Initially, the rainbow flag was established in 1978 by Mr. Baker, and that flag included pink and turquoise, but that was removed, and then other things have been added to the flags just to give individuals a sense of identity. And that is probably one of the key factors for the advocacy for this population, is helping them with identity. So again, the policies are, there's been an executive order by the Trump administration to ban gender affirming care. And states were asked to remove the rainbow flag from their schools and state buildings. And due to due to mass shootings or shootings that have happened, LGBTQIA2S two-spirit are targeted and even more vulnerable because they're being accused of being responsible for some of these shootings and being questioned of their mental capabilities, even being asked to not hold judicial positions. So there's definitely room for advocacy in this population. They're very vulnerable. One of the ways of advocacy that I have strategized is to meet the population at a place where the youth can be reached, because they are typically the ones most impacted because they're just starting to figure out their identity. So youth outreach, identity development, and homelessness are the concerns that I have, and why I involved that in the advocacy strategy plan. So the LGBTQIA S2+ faces more homelessness. They are 4 times more likely to commit suicide, and they find themselves very lonely and not included. And a lot of that has to do with them not fitting in. So one of the strategies is to create homes where they can go and find a safe place and feel welcomed and included. And there's a plan for the individuals to sign up and become qualified through specialized training, cultural training, and just other safety training to allow them to be like a host house for transition until hopefully youth find stable housing. But it could be for young adults as well. So the social media initiatives would be primarily with Facebook and over a 6-month period to give awareness to this initiative. I sent out and I created and sent out a survey, and the survey was to identify, kind of come to find out ages and where people place themselves on this, on their identity. And not just identity, but how much support they have. Like if they feel they have supportive friends or family, if they have housing or food insecurity, or if they have mental health issues. I did start out by their age, and I did start out by their participation was voluntary. They could skip, and throughout they had the opportunity to fill in the blanks. Also, at the end of the survey, they were given information to call if they needed to talk to someone, or text, and if they felt safe. If they wanted more resources, they could call as well and leave their information if that's what they wanted to do. But all information was specifically confidential. So the results were that mental health was one of their largest problems based on the survey, is what they indicated. The next one was physical health issues, financial hardship, then inclusion, and other. The age that most answered the survey was ages 41 to 60, but the next in line was 18 to 24. And of all the participants, there were more than half were female. Of the survey results of identity, there were 72% of heterosexual, but some were bisexual, queer and questioning, or asexual, based on their identification. I think identifying them and being allowed to describe that was an important part of the survey that I would definitely include next time. What I came to conclude from the survey, even though I didn't show all the questions, was that acceptance, inclusion, and cultural awareness were the things that I most identified that this population needs. So the question is, how can you support the LGBTQIA2S plus population? This population needs everyone's support. At times like these where they're being targeted and accused, they need more support than ever, especially from the social work community. So the way you can do that is just to recognize that they need advocacy and they need help by accepting identity and inclusion. And speaking up and showing you care is a way that you can advocate for them. And I like this quote from the Bible that says, above all things, put on love, which is the bond of perfection. I think you can never go wrong by being kind and showing love, especially Christ's love to everyone, and especially in the case of this population.